Dystopia tonight.
Hi, my name is John Poveromo, and I'm here with Gary Hahn, marketing director,
Vice President of Marketing.
Vice President of Marketing for the National Comedy Museum. Tell me about how you came about the job and what made you want to do it.
I had just left Elvis Presley's Graceland as Chief Marketing Officer in
Phenomenal.
Memphis. Yeah.
Yeah.
And wasn't really even looking yet. But I'm a huge Lucy fan. I'd been to the Lucy Desi Museum here. My wife grew up in Buffalo. I had followed the National Comedy Center when it opened about 6 weeks earlier,
Wow.
August 1st, 2018. I saw Journey kind of cutting the ribbon on all sorts of things, from
Wow.
Shelley Berman's archives to Rosemarie's archives, and I was like, okay, this is a place I want to visit sometime.
Beautiful.
Because I'm a comedy geek, and I would be making the pilgrimage anyway.
Yeah.
But there was a job for a director of marketing, and I applied, and literally 3 weeks later, I was here in Jamestown on the job.
Now, let me ask you this. So the Elvis Graceland thing to this, I mean, obviously you're an Elvis fan. I'm assuming that's why you went and got that job.
I wasn't originally.
Really?
Yeah, I'm a Beatles guy.
Oh, that's
so
great.
I was not originally an Elvis fan, but I grew into an Elvis fan.
Sure.
You can't help it.
I was going to say, it's like indoctrination there. You know, like,
I have a great appreciation now for
Sweet.
Elvis. Yeah.
But then was it just time for you to go, or you just liked, you
Yeah,
wanted to do the
it was
comedy
time
thing?
to go. Where I'm
Because it seems like a sweet gig.
I'm from northern New Jersey. We were, after a while, decided
Yeah.
the south. It was time to move back from the south. But I loved it there. I loved the people there. I loved working with Priscilla Presley. It was Jack Soden, who's been the CEO since the day they opened it up in 1982, and he's still there running it. So I had a lot of fun. But there are a lot of similarities in terms of the Lucy fan base.
Sure.
Because when you think about it, in terms of just pop culture icons of the 1950s, and of course they both went on beyond that.
Yeah.
It's hard to come up with anyone bigger than both Elvis and Lucille Ball.
Absolutely.
So,
whose fans are more passionate, do you think?
Well, I don't know. That's a good question. They both love, and I love passionate fans. I think they're kind of close on that. Yeah. I mean, the Lucy fans are really strong and passionate. Elvis has the music side of it that makes it even, adds another dimension to the whole thing. But they're pretty close in terms of how much they love and there's some crossover too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Is there a difference in how you approached each job? You know what I mean? Because I think there's a very specific kind of mystique to Grace. You know what I mean? Like there's like that, and then obviously there's its own for Lucy fans, stuff like that. But do you approach those jobs differently?
Different in the sense that Elvis had branded Graceland while he was alive, right? So Graceland was this iconic location even then. So there's not a lot of work that needs to do just like what Graceland is and where it is and how you get there.
Right.
Lucy fans certainly know that Lucy was born in Jamestown, and the Lucy Ricardo character was also born in Jamestown.
Right.
But making sure that those who are more casual fans are aware that there is a Lucy Desi Museum. And then, of course, the National Comedy Center, which is where we're sitting now, the fact that it is located in Lucy's hometown, that is a launch. That's a branding from scratch,
right?
And explaining how this is the Cooperstown of comedy or the Rock Hall of comedy. So that is kind of a bit different than Graceland that everyone knew about for 20 years before Elvis passed.
Yeah, that's a really good point too. And what was the impetus to actually do the National Comedy Museum here? I mean, was there negotiations? Did you guys have other places you were thinking of building it, or?
No, it was really based on Lucille's vision. So when the town leaders of Jamestown reached out to her in 1989. They said, we want to do a festival that celebrates you. We want to, which is what we're a part of this weekend. And we want to do a museum. She really said, I'm very flattered, but I'd much rather you celebrate all of comedy, not just my work.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
She was going to come back that spring for the graduation ceremonies at Jamestown Community College. It was going to be our first time back in like 30 years.
Wow.
And she passed about a month before that happened on
Wow.
April 26th of 1989. Uh, they wound up doing the first festival in 1991, which has morphed into a festival. It's much more about new comedy and rising talent and a few headliners, like we
Yeah.
had Jon Stewart last night.
Yeah.
But it does celebrate all of comedy, not
Mm.
just her work, although we certainly have Lucy celebration
Oh
events
yeah.
as well. Uh, but it took almost 30 years to realize her vision of this $50 million incredibly interactive museum called the National Comedy Center that does honor and preserve all of comedy,
Mm.
not just Lucy and Desi's work. And it opened August 1st, 2018. So now we have two museums a couple of blocks away from each other.
Yeah.
And it's great on a weekend like this with the festival just to see how active both museums
It's been
are.
great. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so cool to see everybody here and who they admire and what they, gravitate towards, whether they're young or old. And that's the interactive quality of this museum is insane because I was telling you when I just got here that like I saw pictures, I went online, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
checked out stuff beforehand, and none of that does it as much justice as actually walking in the
Yes.
front door and just being here and being able to. It's like it just washes over you.
Yeah, it's hard to communicate how different than this is than a typical museum.
Yeah.
First, because in the lobby you create a sense of humor profile. Hopefully, you did that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And
Where
I still got my band on.
right. So
Yeah.
that's good. So where you tell us the kind of comedy you like, your favorite comedians, TV shows, movies, and then as you go through the exhibits, the content is customized based on what you told us. If there's 20 people at an exhibit, he'll read the room, kind of like a good stand-up comedian,
Right, right.
and then try to find what everyone has in common and deliver that in our stand-up lounge or in our TV living room.
Yeah.
We just we're very proud of the entire museum, but we have this Johnny Carson experience hosted by Jimmy Fallon as
Yeah.
a hologram. We have our Carl Reiner exhibit that's great, and we just opened yesterday, cut the ribbon on a Joan Rivers exhibit with her legendary joke file of nearly 70,000 jokes.
Right.
And that's been getting wonderful attention. You can pull out some drawers
Yeah.
and look because she was meticulous about how she organized it.
Crazy.
So you get to see how everyone's process is different. George Carlin, we have his entire archive.
Yeah.
Kelly, his daughter, just did a presentation earlier today, and he kept all his handwritten notes in these in these just plastic baggies,
Yeah.
and so very different than what Joan did, and so you kind of we really like to pull back the curtain so you can also see
Yeah.
how much work goes into whether it's stand up, whether it's television, and I think one of the challenges with this art form, and it is an art form, is that if you do it right, it looks easy. You went on
Yeah.
stage yesterday, and if you do it right, it looks like you just thought of that stuff that day.
Absolutely.
And we try to explain to people in various ways how people have been practicing this craft for 10, 15, 20, 30 years,
Right.
and try to give you a sense of how hard it is and how much process and craft goes into it.
Can you talk a little bit about, because you just did the Joan Rivers exhibit that just opened, but I also was told that that was basically almost like 17 years in the making from when Joan, headlined here when she was still alive, and then discussing with her what to do. I think somebody had said it was around that, and like that it took that much time. Can you talk about the process of like getting the introduction to people, getting people's material, maybe having them contribute to the museum in some way? Like, how long does that usually take? Like,
Yeah, it varies tremendously. I mean, the Joan story is a wonderful one
Right.
because Joan was here for our festival in 2011, and she was the headliner, and that was the 100th birthday year for Lucille Ball, and she just blew it out of the park. It
Right.
was it was a major, obviously milestone year. It was the first year that Journey Gunderson was executive director.
Right.
And it was the year in that festival when we first said publicly that we're going to create a museum in addition to the Lucy Desi Museum that celebrates all the comedy. So it was the first time we kind of planted our flag and saying we're going to do that.
Yeah.
Melissa, her daughter, came to the groundbreaking in 2015 and was part of the shovel ceremony and everything. So and that's probably when conversations really started, I would imagine.
Okay.
Kelly Carlin was the first to really decide to bet on us well in 2016, well before the doors were open,
Right.
and trust us that we were going to be the right people to preserve her father's work
Yeah.
forever and ever. And every estate is different, but I think yeah, it starts to domino as they see. It's like, oh,
Sure.
The Carl Reiner family
I
said
mean, that chair that
yes,
you
and
guys have, that him and
him
from
and
when
Mel,
Mel
yeah,
Brooks would sit at and watch TV together.
yes,
That's, I mean, that's huge. That's pretty great.
it was immortalized in Jerry Seinfeld's Comedians in
Yes, exactly.
Cars,
And you
and
see
yeah,
people looking at it and getting emotional about it.
yes,
So, which is,
there's no question.
right.
So every estate is different, but they certainly want to kick the tires and want to
Yeah.
understand it. It takes some time, and then it takes once they say yes, we receive boxes and boxes.
Sure.
It can take several years even for our archives team to go through everything and
Right.
decide what should we just put in storage, what should be on display. There's a lot of work that
Do you
goes
find
into it.
that they have to actually come here first before they really get an understanding of how well you guys preserve stuff, or
It
are
doesn't
you able
always
to?
happen, but I will tell you it helps a lot
Sure.
because once they come in here and they see the seriousness with which we take
Yeah.
this, but yet at the same time, uh, how much of a good time everybody is
Yeah.
having, as they walk through, that really accelerates things.
Hmm.
If they come here, the estates are, you don't have to say much more. They're saying
Right.
like, how do we begin?
What made you guys decide to incorporate? Because I saw there was a section that just has Bill Watterson's Calvin and Hobbes, Jim Davis Garfield, Doonesbury, like that
Yeah.
kind of. And it's cool because I know there are other comic strip museums, and there's the Charles Schultz Museum and all that other stuff. You have his stuff here. But
Sure.
what made you guys decide to? Because I didn't know it was going to cover all of you know what I mean? Like there's sections that have scripts and that kind of thing, but there's cartoons here too, which
The
is
the goal,
fascinating.
yeah, the goal was always like whatever, uh, every part of the art form should get represented in
Right.
some way, and so it's not linear, it's not chronological, it's kind of based a little bit more on genre, and you can float throughout the museum to go to what interests you. So whether
Right.
it's radio from the 30s on,
Sure.
whether it's a lyrical laughter where we do a deep dive into everything from Dr. Demento and Weird Al
Saw
to
that, yeah.
Tom Lehrer to the Smothers Brothers and songs, or
Yeah.
including Dick in a Box and
Yeah,
all the SNL stuff.
yeah.
So I think we want it to be as comprehensive as possible, and
Right.
so that's where our cartoons and comic strips come in as well.
Did you guys struggle with some of the more, because I know you represent comedy from every decade.
Yeah,
And there's some stuff that's very sensitive that you guys wind up doing. And I'm not just talking about the Blue Room downstairs
right.
either. Like there's definitely some, blackface, stuff like that. Like, did you guys, because you handle it delicately and
Yeah.
really well, and you preface it with, we represent all kinds of comedy, but was there a larger conversation that took place about whether or not to incorporate it or include it? Like, how did you determine what history you wanted to include,
Right.
and
In general, I mean, it's certainly some of those things, you're right, are in the Blue Room, which has more of uncensored,
Sure.
unedited comedy, and we talk about taboo. I think, I mean, I wasn't here for the design element, but my sense, having spent nearly 7 years here now, is that it was done with great care and an understanding that as long as you put it into context and explain it comes of a certain era, that a museum is the right place to at least discuss these
Sure.
issues. Uh, and blackface was
Yeah.
a very unfortunate moment, but it was part of the comedic landscape at a certain time. And so, as long as the context that it's put in to explain why
Sure.
it shouldn't have happened,
Yeah.
who did it, and when, and allow people to at least understand its historical underpinnings a little bit. But it's done with great care uh, to explain what it was. And look, there's plenty of comedy beyond that, or even comedians who perhaps uh, did a did sets that would not be considered appropriate today.
Right.
So
Yeah.
um,
But you
but
feel it's
we think
important to represent
it's
it
our
all.
job to at least say this was an era.
Right.
We want you to be aware that this was an era, and then there's commentary that is very kind of candid
Yeah.
about why it's inappropriate now.
Right. Yeah.
So
It's great. It's a
it was always inappropriate actually,
sure.
but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
No.
yeah.
Absolutely. And then Monroe Martin, I was talking to, is a great comedian who was on the show with me last night, and did sat down for an interview. Was talking about he wanted to see more of Def Comedy Jam represented.
Right.
But in terms of like how do you, when somebody says something like that, are you like, we are working on getting all aspects of it, because it is hard to get, like you said, to curate that kind of stuff. It takes years, relationship building.
We're definitely, by virtue of covering all of comedy in terms of every genre and every era,
It's a lot.
there are things that still. I mean, we didn't have a Joan exhibit until yesterday,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
that kind of that we're proud that we have a kind of a nice exhibit and archive on In Living Color, for instance, that came in
Yes.
2 years ago. But there's absolute, I've heard people saying everything from I wish there was more honeymooners. To Where's Milton Berle, et cetera. So there are. I think Def Jam is a great example
Yeah.
of that too. There are things that we know we still have. I wouldn't call them gaps per se, but we're light on certain things,
Sure.
and over time, we continue to work on it.
That's pretty great. Do
Yeah.
you guys select it? I mean, because it's a huge museum. But when you bring in newer stuff, are you removing anything ever, or are you just adding to what you already have?
The archives we're just adding. There,
That's
there, there
great.
is a point uh, where even at 37,000 square feet, we run out of some space. So we'll rotate a little bit.
Sure.
I mean, there's a point where we're sitting in Caroline's
Yeah, I started
right
here.
now. Yeah.
Yeah,
So because when they
2005.
closed, we took this right next door as an Ernie Kovacs
Yeah.
exhibit. We may sometimes shrink these things a little bit, put them in another location to make room for something else, and rotate things out, maybe rest things a little bit.
Sure.
We just expanded SNL for the 50th, including the cue cards from
Nate
Washington's
Bargatze.
Dream, the Nate
Yeah.
Bargatze sketch, and a more elaborate wall on the first 5 years of SNL, including the very first script that
Right.
was the papers that Alan Zweibel, one of the original writers, had.
No, Alan Well.
So sometimes things will go a little bit back to the archives
Hmm.
for maybe a year. Sometimes it'll just be a smaller exhibit, and then we'll expand it again. But I think that's what keeps it interesting and what keeps people coming back multiple times
Nice.
is that okay? Well, what's different this time?
Yeah,
So,
that's
yeah,
great.
yeah.
And now, for you personally, who's your top 5 favorite comics?
Wow. Uh, Great question. I would say right away Steve Martin, Johnny Carson, Carl Reiner, Mel Brooks. I mean, I'm of
Great.
those
Yeah, of
years. I
those.
mean that, and some of them have been. We need a little bit more Steve Martin here, but uh, prior I would probably put in the top five. I mean that might. I don't know if that
Sure.
was 4 or 5 I just named, but
Yeah.
but yeah, Reiner because he kind of covers everything from his Sid Caesar days
Yeah.
to the Dick Van Dyke Show, which I still consider the best TV
Right.
comedy of all time, to 2,000-Year-Old Man, to the movies he did with Steve Martin.
Oh
So
yeah,
so
absolutely. John
Reiner,
Candy.
yes,
Yeah,
absolutely,
that
yes.
was
So
Summer Rental, I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, um, but and Carson, it's been great to have this theater experience on
Hmm.
Johnny. This is his 100th, his centennial year,
Yeah.
and what freaks me out is when you have, we have interns right now, all in college age, and some of them are just not very aware of George Carlin or of Johnny Carson, and
Yeah.
that's part of our role too, right? Is to make them aware of comedians of Joan,
Yeah.
that they might have heard the name, but they never saw their work,
Sure.
and with the fact that no one's watching TV together anymore. You're not getting introduced
I
to.
know.
You're not seeing the Carol Burnett show to get together because there's only five. Everyone's in different rooms of the house watching their own thing.
Yeah.
So this is also a place where you can come and kind of laugh together across generations, and
Yeah.
that's a lot of fun to watch.
Do you have a favorite exhibit? Are you allowed to say what your favorite exhibit is?
Do I have a, well, I would say the Reiner Room, because you could do a deep dive, like
Yeah.
a really deep dive into including a lot of your show of shows, and
Yeah.
just watching some of those sketches with Sid.
Absolutely.
It's just incredible. So that's probably,
Are
but also the interact. You can put yourself into
Yes.
like the green screen.
Oh
You can
yeah,
put yourself
we
into
did that.
scene.
That was awesome.
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
very cool.
So
And I like that you had in the Reiner Room. I guess Rosemary gave it to you, but her suit,
yes,
and then Maury Amsterdam's hats, and then the
and
scripts from one.
and his cello.
Yes.
That yeah. So what I love about that, for those who are fans of the Dick Van Dyke Show, is that we have Maury and Rosemary together side by side in a
Yes.
display cabinet.
It's great.
In perpetuity now,
Yeah.
and that's great. Yeah, his gag cello is there. He used to pull sandwiches out of it.
Yeah. And then I want to know, do you have a favorite I Love Lucy episode?
Yeah, I'd have to go with Job Switching, which is the chocolate factory. And,
That's it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the best one.
yeah,
I'm going to ask the last three questions that I
Yeah.
ask every guest that's been on the
Absolutely.
show. First question, if you can go back in time and talk to your younger self, what piece of advice would you give yourself that would help you today?
Wow. Well, partly it would be like, all that TV watching wasn't a waste. So don't let
That's
someone
great.
tell you
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
Because it kind of worked for
Yeah,
me
yeah.
in what I do now.
Absolutely.
Don't sweat the small stuff, I guess. You know.
Nice.
So yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't an athlete, so it's a thing. Like,
Sure,
you know what?
yeah.
That TV thing might come in handy someday.
Yeah. Absolutely. Second question is, what had to end in your life, good or bad, that led you to where you are today?
I think a less focus on what am I going to do in 10 years, what am I going to do in 20 years, and just like focusing on what feels good to be doing, career-wise,
Yeah.
right now. And
Damn.
just focusing on that.
That's really good.
Yeah.
And then the last question ties into the theme of the show. The show's called Dystopia Tonight.
Yeah.
So if you woke up tomorrow, everybody found out 24 hours left to live.
Yeah.
What cataclysmic event would you want to be happening? So you get to choose between whatever you want, really, but like political collapse, climate change, meteor hitting the Earth, aliens, zombies, your choice. And what's going to be your epic death? How are you going to go out?
Oh, it's got to be. I'm a big Star Trek guy, so it's got to be. It's got to be aliens coming in.
Beautiful.
It's got to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And how are you going out?
Well, the Twilight Zone to serve man.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm
man.
going out. Yeah.
Yeah,
man.
that's a great.
I'm just going
solid
out that
reference.
way.
Yeah, that's great, man. Thank you so much for doing
Thank
this,
you
man. I
very
really
much.
appreciate you having me here.
I appreciate it, John.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
Take care.
Yeah.
Dystopia Tonight.